What's going on, everybody? This is Emerald Knight Leon, back here with another deck analysis. We're tackling another green deck for BT-7, a fun deck that I feel might work very well against hybrids. And I want to give a shout out to two people. For the first person, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. I went against this person at a tournament at the Game Cellar in El Monte about a month ago. At the time, I was running Machines Ramon, and I nearly got taken down by this guy running Sarismon, of all thing, in Digiabsorption. So because of you, I wanted to try to build a deck for Digiabsorption in the BT-7 meta. And then my other shout out is to Eric Matthews on Facebook. You recently posted a question about wanting to build a deck, and you're fairly new to the game, and you wanted to build a deck either around the Rosemon here, a Dino Rexmon, or Ibanwumon. I am likely going to make a video on Ibanwumon in the future, but you were the one who helped push me to make this video and make that decision. So thank you. On to our analysis. For our rookies, we are running 3 copies of Argomon. His effect, as I've mentioned in previous videos, when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspend phase, gain 1 memory. This is really useful. We're going to build up a lot of memory. We're going to make usage of that because we're going to lower our memory usage for Digivolving a lot, giving us a lot more room to flood our board a bit. We'll also be running 2 copies of Pinamon. Pinamon is really here for board checking our opponent by making sure that when we're attacking their Digimon, we're at least getting something out of it by being able to draw 1. On our rookies, we are running 4 copies of Goblimon and 4 copies of Argomon. These are here for their low cost to play. We're going to be board spamming a little bit sometimes. Other times it's going to be used as a bait for our opponent to try to take them out, giving us more room for when we're using our level 5 Argomon to be able to play some stuff here and there every now and then. And overall, they're just really good cards to have at a cheap cost. We'll be running 2 copies of Terriermon. In regards to Terriermon, I would say if you wanted to up Terriermon to 3, maybe 4, you could take out 1 or 2 of either the Gobly or the Argos. I would keep them at a good 3 probably for those. So if you wanted to make the Goblymon and Argomon at 3 each and Terriermon at 4, that's great. That's up to you. But definitely at least have 2 Terriermon in your deck. He's going to be useful. Basically keeping your opponent from using their Digimon's abilities or their memory boost cards in order to gain memory. Our final rookie is 4 copies of Palmon from the starter deck 4. Palmon is a consistently good card for a lot of green decks. Its inherited effect is when attacking, if you attack an opponent's Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP. You're using this to board check your opponent a lot. You're going to use its effect in conjunction with Digiabsorption in order to, and Sarismon, as you're going to be suspending your opponent's Digimon and then swinging into it to keep punishing your opponent. And it's an overall really good card to combo with. On our level 4s, we are running 4 copies of Argomon. Argomon is our first Digiabsorption of the deck. He has a Digiabsorption -2. For any new players, Digiabsorption is where by suspending one of your Digimon, you can reduce the cost of Digivolving a Digimon from your hand by a certain amount. In this case, if we were Digivolving Argomon onto a Goblymon while we had another Digimon, or if we didn't have another Digimon, we had Argomon out on the battle zone, we would suspend either that Argomon or Goblymon and then reduce the cost to 0. So that's going to save us a lot of memory. We'll also be running 4 copies of Kiwimon. Kiwimon is our on-play champion. He's really here because of that on-play effect. Reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. Add all Digimon cards with Digiabsorption among them to your hand. Place the remaining at the bottom of your deck in any order. he is here to fish our deck for Argomon, Rosemon, and Sarismon. These cards are going to be really useful for this deck, especially the Argo and Saris. Not to, talk smack about Rosemon, but as I haven't been able to test her, I'm not fully sure how she's going to do well in this deck. Our last level 4 will be 3 copies of Metal Kabuterimon. Now, you could ask, why not use Beetlemon? Well, the reason we're not going to use Beetlemon is Metal Kabuterimon already becomes a 2 cost if we're digivolving on a tamer, which is what we're primarily would use him for, as he's going to be the one that's going to go for game 9 times out of 10. But there's also his effect of if he's digivolving onto a Digimon with hybrid in its trait or JP, then you can suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for 6,000 DP or less. And if you were to run JP in this deck, which I probably would recommend maybe if you wanted to go that route, you're going to get piercing as well. But we're not really using it for its effect. We're using it for that 2 cost, and it's a 6,000 DP. So most blockers, outside of maybe a few level 5 blockers, won't be able to take him out. And if they are able to, it's really going to be trading so that your opponent's going to lose a blocker. There are some exceptions to this. You might go against a black deck that's running Tai Kamiya, and his effect will give all of your opponent's black Digimon plus 1,000 DP, in which case, if your opponent has a Mechanorimon, goodbye Metal Kabuteri. But yeah, on to our level 5s. We're going to be running 1 copy of Argomon. I've said this in another video. You're only allowed to have 1 copy of Argomon. This is a message to new players. He is a great card. He has a Digiabsorption of 3, so you are basically Digi-evolving into him for free at the cost of suspending one of your Digimon. And he has the inherited effect of, when attacking, you may play 1 level 3 green Digimon from your hand suspended without paying its cost. Personally, I don't know how I feel about that ability. I can see the benefit, but I could also see it really only playing a role as a bait for your opponent, because you're going to flood your board quickly, and they're going to have to start doing crowd control, and they're going to start by targeting your suspended level 3s. And that's going to buy you some time to go after their security, since they're focused on dealing with your board. We'll be running 4 copies of Blossomon. Blossomon is another Digiabsorption card with a Digiabsorption -3. Enough said. It's got a 7,000 DP. You're not going to be hard playing this. You're going to be using its Digiabsorption to Digivolve for free. We'll also be finally running 3 copies of Lilymon from the EX collection. This, I feel, is a great card for this deck because of its inherited. When one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, this Digimon gains security attack +1 for the turn. You're going to have this under your Rosemon or your Sarismon or your Argomon. You're going to be having Sarismon out, so by using Digiabsorption, you're going to Digivolve your Lilymon into a Argo or Rose while Saris is out. Saris's effect will kick in, so you're going to suspend your opponent's Digimon. Go into your level 6, Lilymon's effect will go off. You're going to get that +1 attack. On to our level 6s. We're running 3 copies of Sarismon. Sarismon was introduced in BT-3, and it did dominate the meta for a while. It's got a Digiabsorption of 3, so you're reducing its cost of Digivolution to 2. And then also, your turn once per turn, when suspending Digimon for a Digiabsorption skill, you may suspend your opponent's Digimon instead. The reason we're running it at 3 is because having 3 of him will let us use his ability to its maximum potential, because you can only do it once per turn. Not to mention, he is at a 12,000 DP, so that's definitely a good bonus to have. He can hit most things in security, probably some exceptions like Omnimons or Bonds. And unfortunately, he won't be able to survive contact with any of the Ancients. Our very useful card for the meta against hybrids will be 2 copies of Argomon from BT-5. Argomon is what I am going to hope going to be very good against hybrids, because hybrid decks are going to have a lot of tamers, and this card, when he comes in from Digivolving, suspend all of your opponent's tamers, and then all turns your opponent's tamers don't unsuspend. This is really good. What's going to happen is you're going to bring this in when your opponent has a lot of tamers, so this is going to be towards the mid to end game. They're going to start going into their Digimon, their hybrids, and you're going to be, before that, play this. You're going to suspend all of their tamers, and the only way they're going to be able to get off any effects or any Digimon is by Digivolving it, and then those Digimon are already suspended. And that's going to waste memory. It's going to go to your turn, and you're going to punish them by taking out all of their hybrids and tamers. So he's a really good card for this. Finally, for our level 6, 2 copies of Rosemon, the new promo Rosemon. She has a Digiabsorption of 2, so you're Digivolving it for only a 2 cost. And then her effect when Digivolving: if you have a tamer in play, one of your opponent's Digimon can't attack or block until the end of their next turn. If your opponent has a blocker, they're not going to be able to block. If they have something that could get multiple security checks off, they won't be able to attack. Enough said. We'll be running for our options 1 copy of Hidden Potential Discovered. This card is going to be good because we're going to use it in conjunction with Sarismon. So with Sarismon, side note, I am sorry, I didn't mean to mention using it in conjunction with Sarismon. That was an error on my part. Back to the video. We're going to be using this to lower our cost for Sarismon a bit if we're not able to Digiabsorption, and say if our only Digimon is the one we have out, we're not going to be suspending him. Not unless we have a means of making sure our opponent's not going to swing it. So we're going to use this in order to bring in, say, a 2 cost in order to suspend it, to play this for Digivolve it into it for free. We can use the same tactic for all the others, and that's very going to be useful. We are also going to be running 4 copies of Royal Nuts. Get your laughter out right now, because this card's actually really useful for this type of deck. Reveal 5 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 Digimon with Digiabsorption among them to your hand, and place the remaining cards at the bottom of your deck. This is a 1 cost card to play. Its security effect adds it to your hand. You're going to be using this to fish for a lot of your Digiabsorption cards to get into Ceres or Argo or Rosemon as early as you can. Remember though, Argo is probably going to be better to be used mid to late game when your opponent has a large amount of tamers. On to our tamers, we are running 2 copies of Izzy Izumi from BT-1. He is a slept-on card in green, in my opinion, and his effect is really useful. If you have a level 5 or higher green Digimon in play, you can suspend this tamer to reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is a Digimon, add it to your hand. Otherwise, place it in the bottom of your deck. This is going to be useful because once we have our level 5 and we don't have a level 6, we can use this to farm for our level 6. And if we have Sarismon now, but no other level 6, we can use this to farm for our next level 6 that we're going to take advantage of our opponent for. Finally, we'll be running 3 copies of Mimi. I've mentioned Mimi before. She is a great card, a staple in green decks. She's our memory setter. And we're going to use her to set up lethal by having a level 5 Digimon out. Going to suspend her, hatch another Digi-Egg, or if we have a level 3 or 4 already in our breeding area, we are going to bring that out to get an extra hit in. Another way we could use her is if, say, we had a level 5 or our Sarismon in our breeding area, we bring this out. We then use Mimi. If we have 2 Mimis out, that's even better, because then we're going to hatch, Digivolve, bring out, and then use it that Digimon in order to go into another Digiabsorption card. Whether that is going to be our level 4 in order to suspend our opponent's Digimon, or our level 5s, or even our level 6s. So that's the deck as it is right now. Certain cards you might want to tech in if you want to play this deck in a different way. It's up to you. We have Kokuwamon. Kokuwamon is a good card. He will give any level 6 Digimon or higher a extra security attack. His one downside is that 4 cost play and 1 cost Digivolve. But if you want to be a little more aggressive, that is an option. We could run the Wormmon, who's on deletion will let us farm our deck for level 4 or 5 Digimons. Betamon is another option, looking for a level 4 Digimon that's green or a green tamer. There's also Tentomon from the starter deck, revealing top card of our deck if it's a green Digimon, add it to our hand. On to our level 4s, there is Woodmon, who is a blocker. He's a 5 cost, you can hard play him if needed. Togemon can be useful sometimes from BT-1. She will let us reveal 3 cards from the top of our deck and add 1 level 5 or higher Digimon among them to our hand. And then there's also Stingmon. Stingmon has a great inherited effect where if this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, you gain a memory. You can also run this in a hybrid package. So you're going to essentially take out majority of your level 3s outside of a few, and then basically add a lot of level 4 hybrids to your roster. So there's Arbormon, Petaldramon, who has piercing, Beetlemon as well. And then on top of that, you would be adding Rhino Kabuterimon and potentially Ancient Beetlemon, whose effect is essentially you're going to combine him with Sarasmon in order to suspend using Digiabsorption, swing into it. If you have JP, which if you're running this package, then you want JP in your deck, you're going to be able to trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. If you're combining it with this as well, you're going to be trashing another card so you're basically trashing 2 cards from your opponent's security right then and there. With JP, he's having piercing, so you're going to be taking out 3 of their security. If you're not going with that option, then there's also Kabuterimon as a blocker. Cherrymon, who's a level 5 blocker. He does not have the caveat of losing 2 memory when attacking. If you want to play a little more aggressive, you could maybe tech in Dino Beamon for his piercing and jamming ability, as well as Lilymon in order to search your deck for your level 6s. And then also a level 6 is the BT-2 Argomon, who has a Digiabsorption 3. And then for each of your other suspended Digimon, he gains a security attack +1. This card, unfortunately, does not have a lot of synergy with Sarasmon. What you will be using him for is you're going to be swinging into your opponent's Digimon that are already suspended through comboing Digiabsorption with Sarasmon in order to rack up your security checks with Argomon. Preferably if you were able to get Argomon under some on top of some Digimon that would give it an extra boost of DP value, that would be very useful. Otherwise, he is a little bit of a glass cannon. As for our options, you could run Smash Potatoes, which functions similarly to Hidden Potential Discovered, as well as, interestingly enough, 60% win rate. I guess you could say this is a proto version of it, as it functions the exact same way. It's a 2 cost, and it decreases the Digivolution cost by 4 for Digivolving a Digimon. The only caveat is it has to specifically be a green Digimon from level 5 to level 6. We'll also have Flower Cannon as a possible card to tech in. She will suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, and then if it's coming from security, it's going to suspend all of your opponent's Digimon without blocker. There's also Cherry Blast, which will suspend all of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. Tropical Venom, which is a very useful card. It's a 0 cost, and it will give one of your opponent's Digimon a on-deletion effect of losing 2 memory, so you're going to gain 2 memory. There's also the Dino Memory Boost, which will let you suspend an opponent's Digimon and then place in your battle zone, and then you can use its delay effect a turn later to gain 2 memory. We have Green Memory Boost, which can help search your deck, as well as gain 2 memory for its delay effect. And then there's Needle Spray from the starter deck, which is still a standout card. If you wanted to run it, I would recommend it probably. On our Tamers end, if you're running the hybrid package, you're gonna want 4 copies of JP. If you need to cut corners with, say, some of your option cards, I would take out Hidden Potential Discovered, maybe. And you can definitely make room by also taking out your rookies. On the other side of it, with Tamers, we have Ken Ichijo, which will net you a memory every time for when one of your green or blue Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives. You can suspend him to gain a memory. We also have the Izzy and Mimi, where if your opponent has a suspended Digimon in play when it's your turn, you gain 2 memory, and then when you attack with a level 5 green Digimon, you can suspend this tamer in order to reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck. You may Digivolve 1 green level 6 Digimon, take one of them, level 6 Digimon among them, and Digivolve it on top of the attacking Digimon without paying its memory cost. Already, that is really good. I don't see any real use in the deck outside of maybe if you are running it with the hybrid package, it could work, because then you're going to be wanting to reduce the cost of going into your ancient Beetlemon. But that's if you're able to get it out. Otherwise, you could basically go into your Sarismon without having to use its Digiabsorption effect. So all of your Digimon are basically free from suspension. And then finally, there is a starter deck Izzy, where when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, you can suspend this tamer to gain 1 memory. Kind of similar to Ken in that you're gaining memory out of it, but it's a very useful card when needed. So that is it for this analysis. I want to run this deck. I've slowly been getting the cards I need to be able to build this deck. I just right now need the Rosemons, and I'm good to go with it, along with the Metal Kabuteri. And I really hope this deck sees some usage in the meta, because Argomon, I want to see wreck hybrids. I love hybrids, I love Frontier, but with how broken sometimes they can get in this meta, I really am interested in seeing if Argomon can get some real good mileage and run. So again, if you have any thoughts on this analysis, or if you have any, interest in like mentioning what you would change about this deck, leave a comment below, subscribe, and leave a like if you want. And I hope you have a great day.